Thank you so much for joining me today, Sean. I'm really happy to have you on today to tell everyone about the great work that you're doing over at the Honest Bison. And I'm sure everybody's really excited to find out. So if you want to get started by just introducing yourself and telling us a little bit about the Honest Bison to get started here.
Sure. My name's Sean Lenihan. I founded the Honest Bison in 2012. At that stage, it was feasibility, study, see if it works, curious, learn, visit ranches, validate the idea, and see if it was something that I should focus on. I came from a career of marketing, branding. The niche in that was experiential, so very immersive. Worked with some really talented people, really talented clients, and so I was exploring what to do, how I could contribute to the world. So the Honest Bison was born. Started selling online in 2014, and had been plugging away, focused on serving people with our brand and our products.
Thank you for that. And if you can dive into a little more detail here, really share with us the whole journey of the Honest Bison from its inception. And I know at one point I particularly want to hear about is the focus on the initial challenges of sourcing the unprocessed quality meats that align with your values.
Great question. So in that beginning phase, when I was asking questions to myself and to people that I trusted about where our food comes from, what problems were in the food system, and what were the solutions. It wasn't hard to find that bison meat had some exceptional nutritional qualities, high in iron, the protein, the fat profile, cholesterol, selenium, B12s, all the nutrients seem to be a little bit better than most red meats. And through the feasibility phase and learning about bison, learning about how they are raised, learning about the meat, visiting ranches, I came to understand the reality that most bison are finished in feedlots. And I'm sure most of the listeners here understand the pitfalls of confined animal feeding operations. But that was a surprise, being naive to how bison were raised for meat, was that it's very efficient and profitable to raise bison in feedlots. Not all the way in feedlots, but sometimes a large majority their time can be spent there. And so that realization of like, wait, I'd like to start a business in this. My own personal journey came from the approach of human nutrition. What is best for me? What is best for my family? What is best for people who want to eat healthier? And this ignorance around, hey, this is the efficient way to do it. Let's finish it in a feedlot, get a higher weight. That was shocking to me. And so learning that it was like 99%, 98% at the time of commercially raised bison meat went through a feedlot. So that changed the business viability of what I wanted to do, because my desire was to build a brand that helped people eat the most nutritious things on earth and through meat proteins. So there's this standard that people don't know about, but people should, because they're coming from similar places to me, is like, I want the best. So sourcing that was a little bit difficult because there was only a handful of producers who were doing it. They had their own brands. They weren't using third-party certification to audit and prove what they were doing. Coming from my background in marketing and understanding how some brands have no problem bending or adjusting the truth that they wanted to say, or telling partial truths, or flat out lying. The brand I wanted to create would be built on trust and transparency. And since I wanted the most nutritious meat, I learned that it had to be 100% grass-fed. So working with some ranchers that were doing 100% grass-fed, I got started there. It didn't have certification. They weren't interested in it. And my mission was to create the most trust. That's the origin of our name, why the word honest is in it. And so that's why eventually I met Carrie Balcombe at a Slow Money event. We hit it off, and she told me about her program. And I wanted to have meat that was AGA certified. And so it was very early on, like before I even started selling meat, that 100% grass-fed was going to be a core standard to what we delivered. And I needed a third party to do that. So I was very grateful to find American Grass-Fed and have that 100% grass-fed standard. That's kind of where it fits in. The good news is now that 99, 98% that was way back in 2012, it's much larger now. The consumers have voted. They'll pay a little bit more for 100% grass-fed. They recognize the nutritional value. They understand the health of the animal is better on 100% grass-fed. They understand that there's regenerative aspects when you omit chemical inputs. So I think in the industry with bison, if there's 60,000 bison slaughtered every year, that we're probably in the 6, 7, 8. It's probably not 8,000, but there's probably 5,000 or more 100% grass-fed animals. So it's growing, and so the 100% grass-fed movement, largely responsible for AGA, is it's working.
So tell me a little more about, the high quality that you're coming out with, right? Trust and transparency through the process. And you're holding yourself to some high standards, right? You're mimicking the patterns of nature in the way you manage your animals in your pastures. You're avoiding using fertilizers, herbicides, pesticides, other chemically enhanced farming practices. And of course, your AGA certification is going to hold you to a lot of those standards, but you found them important far before that. And can you tell me a little bit about why?
Sure. Well, I will say so people, sticking with our transparency, all of the bison that we have on our website and we sell to our customers comes from 777 Bison Ranch. They've been committed to 100% grass-fed and holistic management for decades. And so we have a strategic alliance from them. All the bison that we get is from there. So that's where it comes from. And so the core value of human nutrition, animal welfare, and in that how healthy the animal is, it's scientifically proven that you eat, right, or consume or absorb what your animal eats. So if the animal consumes grass that had pesticides, herbicides, artificial fertilizers, there's so much that goes on with that, and probably a lot of stuff we still don't know of the effects of how does that translate into how it affects my body, my gut biome, my health and wellness. And there's enough evidence to say that if you keep it as natural as possible, you can give yourself the opportunity to be as healthy as you can be. So again, back to having an honest relationship, a trusting, a transparent relationship with the customers, that if we're going to make a claim that this meat will make you healthier, then those standards have to be in place, because there's enough evidence of if you spray poison on your food and then you eat the food, you're probably going to ingest some form molecularly that poison. So omitting that is an important deliverable.
Over the years, we've seen people become so disconnected from our food system, even distrustful of our food system, understandably. With all that you're putting into your products, I'm sure you've changed the outlooks of many customers about the food system, about what it can be. Can you share with me some stories or experiences that have shown you that the consumers feel that they've confirmed the value of your mission to bring trust back into the food system?
Yeah, it's profound. Having personally gone on that journey myself, it's one of one, right? That doesn't make a business. If it works for me, it might not make a business. But when a larger movement, the food movement, of going from the ignorance of processed food is not healthy for us, and as people start to educate and learn what degrades their health, what makes them less healthy, what makes them sick, getting to what makes them healthy, understanding organic, understanding what foods, whole foods, can lead to a healthier life. The people that get to Bison and red meat, that understand what they need, or at least experiment, have come back, and whether it's conversations, emails, we have reviews that are customer verified. Many of them describe not just that, hey, like this got better, or my blood cholesterol levels, or their energy levels, or if they're training for performance, athletes, or they're entrepreneurs, and they need a high energy, right? And they need to operate at a high level. Those have come back as surprising, and I keep the contrast, surprisingly on the upside. The contrast is that, and this is for me too, is that what we were eating before probably was so diminished in its nutritional value that when you get to a high level of nutrition, or essentially the way humans evolved was around, hey, I got to go hunt this animal. And so the ability to do that, and take that nutrition from the animal, really delivers. So the customers have provided a feedback loop to where what they feel and what they get out of it keeps us going to keep holding our standards, because it does cost more. It is a higher risk in multiple facets of the business to go 100% grass-fed. It's not as consistent of a seasons, right? If you feed it in a feedlot, you can get it to the exact weight 52 weeks out of the year. So with 100% grass-fed, you do have to work with nature. So there's more variable. So customer feedback has been great. It builds, people come back. I think all of us, if we find something that makes us feel better nutritionally or nourishing, it's a little easier to incorporate that habit.
I absolutely applaud anybody that chooses to produce the food the way that our producers are, right? I mean, it's not an easy decision by any measure of the way, right? I mean, it's more costly, it's more work, it's frankly, it's a big commitment, and it's definitely, it's based in values and based on the desire to change our food system more so than just making a profit. And that just means so much. which kind of leads me into my next question, which is what makes you so passionate about being able to provide pure and honest food for your customers and your community?
Yeah, it's a great question. In my previous career as a marketer, I was passionate for what we did. We created great experiences, amazing experience, world-class things to immerse yourself in, feel good, be entertained, be educated. I really enjoyed that. But something was missing. And what was missing was, did the people that we created these experiences for, like, was it meaningful? Or was it just a part of a business model that made a premium brand richer? And they got something maybe they didn't really need. Do you really, really need a luxury car? They sure are nice to have, but you really don't necessarily need it, especially if you're sick or if you're not as healthy as you need to be. So for me, what drives passion is that we're operating a business that makes people healthier. They feel good about how the animal was raised. They feel good and they trust that the animal wasn't used in a model that extracted from the earth's resources. So our holistic practices promotes the fertility of the soil. And on a basic level, it can taste better. And so when I'm able to do that through a business, the exchange between the company and our supply chain delivering value to the customer is positive. Oh yeah, you made me healthier. You took care of the animal. You paid everybody fair. Nothing was extractive. It truly was regenerative, and it tastes great. That brings me like a massive amount of gratitude that there's a value exchange along the entire way, as opposed to, yeah, I like your stuff, but you're expensive and I don't want to hire you, right? Or like there was always some compromise maybe in or like maybe you didn't need it, right? With what we have for our products, people can really enjoy it. They need it to be nourishing, and it has positive consequences for animal welfare, the food labor, the ranching labor, the farming labor, and then ultimately our environment. And so, boy, that feels good. It's not hard to be passionate when you're checking so many boxes and your impact goes all the way down to the microbe level in soil.
So you guys, you could have picked, there's many certifications on the market, right?
Mhm.
And you went with any of them, but you choose to have an AGA certification.
Mm-hmm.
What made you decide that AGA was going to set your product apart? And would you recommend it to other producers that are considering certification?
Yeah, it's a great question. It's the first certification that we were able to commit to, and we felt it was the cornerstone. Now, keep in mind, 10 years ago, people were just figuring out what grass-fed was. They certainly didn't know the nuance in which ranchers or the USDA or butchers, any of the decision makers that get to call food what we call it. The AGA standard was the only one that I found that was committed to 100%. From the time the animal is born to the time that it is harvested, that animal would get the diet that it was designed for, its digestive system. So ruminants should have only grass. And they should not, that because the farmer is paid by the weight of the animal instead of the nutritional value of the meat, using 100% grass, so it's the healthiest animal. AGA standards accomplish that, and the ranchers also understood the standards and understood that they could make it work with that standard. I think there's some standards out there that are unrealistic for commercial operations. Small scale, great if you can do it, but you're not gonna feed 10,000 people with it. So AGA had the high standard that was going to be required. It doesn't allow for, oh, it's grass finished, or excuse me, it's grass fed, but yeah, it's finished on some free choice. Free choice what? And so there's nuance in the words that can be used legally to confuse the consumer. And so this is, again, back to why we believe that third-party certifications are important, because the way the laws are written in our country with regards to food labeling, you can say a lot of things that might be confusing or similar when you're looking for grass-fed, when you're trying to figure out and make discriminating choices on what kind of meat you're going to eat. So AGA checked every box. It had the highest standard for the animal, for confinement, for excluding chemical inputs, that helped us build the trust with the consumer.
Thank you, Sean. We've heard a lot of great stuff from you today. I know folks are going to want to check you out, learn more, see what you have to offer. Can you tell us a little bit about where we can learn more about the Honest Bison?
TheHonestBison.com. That's our website. We are on social media, Instagram, Facebook. We've got some really great recipes on Pinterest. I'm on LinkedIn. The company's on LinkedIn. Where else are we? So I think that covers it. We're on Twitter. I don't know if people engage with food companies on Twitter anymore. But we're there. We're paying attention. We have a phone number on our website. That isn't always true with meat companies. There's an email. We have customer service. So we are absolutely accessible. That's also a core tenet. We want people to know us. We're people. We're here in the United States. All of our meat comes from the United States. So
Sean,
hit us up.
Absolutely. I'm going to make sure that they have all the information they need to find you guys and get anything they would like. Thank you so much for coming on today. It has been an absolute pleasure to speak with you. And we're blessed to have you as a part of our AGA family. Is there any thoughts that you'd like to leave folks with before we log off today?
I will express my gratitude in your organization continuing to do hard stuff, and that is build a label that continues to have integrity. It is a maze to navigate the regulations of what the USDA will do, what they won't do, what the Food Marketing Service will allow, all in a changing landscape of what consumers perceive and what's actually being produced. And so providing that transparency in the food chain can't be done without organizations like yourselves that can come in as a third party and say, we did an audit, they're doing it, and come back and say, they're still doing it without any financial stake in the game, whether they're doing it or not, right? So it's I am grateful, and like as a parting thing for the consumers listening, look for the labels. Ask that if you have a rancher that you know and trust, ask them to use the labels, ask them to do the audit. It makes a difference when collectively we commit to a high standard, so you can trust where your food comes from.
Sean, thank you so much for coming on today, and thank you for doing the most important job in the world and feeding pure and honest food to all of us.
Thank you. Thank you for having us. We'll be in touch.